If ever I should wish for a retreat, whither I might steal from the world and its distractions, and dream quietly away the remnant of a troubled life, I know of none more promising than this little valley.
Before we get started, let me say a couple things here. First of all, happy Halloween to everybody that's watching this video. This is not my costume. I kind of look like a moron because I'm wearing sunglasses indoors, but there's a reason for that. I snapped my regular glasses in half the other day, so I have to wear these indoors because it's the only prescription I have at the moment. So this is just what I'm going to look like today. But the other thing is I'm probably going to be looking down a few times because I have my tablet here with me, because when I make my outlines or like technically like scripts for videos, I usually have like a teleprompter where you're all at right now, and due to these glasses kind of having like a weird reflective thing, I can't see my teleprompter, so I have to hold my outline in my hands for this video. But I really wanted to get this video out for you all because it's been nearly 2 months since my last one, and I'm super excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today. So I hope you all enjoy. It's going to be a little bit of a weird setup, unlike my usual videos, but hopefully it turns out good. So when it comes to Halloween and ghost stories in the United States, few figures are as famous as the Headless Horseman. First introduced in Washington Irving's 1820 short story, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman had a profound impact on readers of the time. His enduring presence among ghost tales to this day has solidified his status as one of the central figures in American folklore. However, was Irving's Horseman truly the first of its kind, or did Irving, whose parents were of European descent, draw inspiration from European folk tales of similar entities? At a young age, Washington was sent to a friend's house by his parents due to a yellow fever outbreak in Manhattan, New York, where they lived. This friend resided in Tarrytown, New York, which at the time was a large Dutch settlement. During his time there, Irving learned about many Dutch customs and their fondness for ghost stories. Tarrytown itself inspired Irving, as it was rumored that the Dutch referred to the town as Schlapper's Haven or Sleeper's Haven. In the present day, Tarrytown no longer exists, and instead now, this little town has adopted the name Sleepy Hollow after the success of the short story. In mid-1815, after serving the New York militia during the War of 1812, Irving left for Europe to salvage his family's business, which had all but been destroyed by the war. Although he was unsuccessful in that endeavor, Irving would spend the next 17 years living in and traveling throughout Europe. Since he was unable to salvage the family business, Irving turned to his passion for writing, and in 1817 he wrote his second most influential story, Rip Van Winkle. By 1819, Irving sent a collection of his works to his brother, who still resided in New York, for publication. The works were published in installments or volumes, with Rip Van Winkle appearing in the first volume and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow appearing in volume 6. However, before and after the publication of Sleepy Hollow, Irving had a passion for travel and exploration. During his time in Europe, he explored countries such as Scotland, Ireland, and Germany, all of which have their own folktales involving Headless Horsemen. Given Irving's interest in European folktales and ghost stories since a young age, it seems pretty likely that The Legend of Sleepy Hollow was Irving's version of the Headless Horseman, adapted for his new American audience.
His appetite for the marvelous and his powers of digesting it were equally extraordinary.
In 1790, the story unfolds in Sleepy Hollow, which is a secluded community near the Dutch settlement of Tarrytown, New York. The residents of Sleepy Hollow are deeply superstitious and have an affinity for ghost stories. Among the various rumored specters haunting the hollow, none strike as much fear as the Headless Horseman. While several theories circulate regarding the Horseman's identity, the most popular suggests he is the ghost of a soldier beheaded by a cannonball during the Revolutionary War, returning to the old battlefields in search of his severed head. We then meet our protagonist, Ichabod Crane, a schoolmaster from Connecticut who has just relocated to Sleepy Hollow. His arrival quickly endears him to the community, drawn to him either by his appearance, intelligence, or his willingness to contribute to the town. Crane, in turn, becomes just as enamored with the town, especially in its ghost stories, including the legend of the Headless Horseman. Crane is a self-admitted superstitious man with an appetite for the marvelous, and his stay in Sleepy Hollow only embraces or enhances his fondness for the unknown. As the story unfolds, Ichabod becomes captivated by a young woman named Katrina Van Tassel. His affection for her deepens when he discovers she is the sole heiress of her wealthy farmer father's estate. However, Ichabod faces competition for Katrina's affection. Brom Bones, who is a brawny man, also contends for her hand in marriage, and several times Brom challenges Ichabod to duel over Katrina, but Ichabod, aware of his physical disadvantages to Brom Bones, denies every request. Their rivalry continues for multiple weeks and is brought to a head at an autumnal party at the Tassel homestead. After the party dies down and guests begin to exit, Crane attempts to propose but is unsuccessful. Depressed and heartbroken over the rejection, Crane begins his trek home on his horse. However, at an intersection, Crane encounters a fellow rider with a broad stature who sits eerily silent on his horse. Crane then notices that the rider's head is missing from his shoulders and is instead stored on his horse's saddle. According to legend, there is a bridge that the horseman is unable to cross, and Crane takes off in that direction to try and escape. Crane and his horse cross the bridge safely, but unfortunately, Crane turns back to observe the horseman following him. But the horseman stops the bridge, rears his horse, and seemingly launches his own severed head at Crane. Crane attempts to dodge the attack, but is unsuccessful, and it strikes Crane and knocks him off his horse. The following morning, Crane's horse is found grazing at the farmhouse where he'd been staying. However, Crane is nowhere to be found. All that was discovered at the scene of the altercation was Crane's hat, his horse's saddle, and a shattered jack-o'-lantern. After Crane's disappearance, Brom Bones goes on to marry Katrina, and whenever the subject of Ichabod Crane comes up, Brom seems to know more than he lets on. Now, the legend of Sleepy Hollow concludes without explicitly stating what exactly happened to Ichabod Crane, and Washington Irving leaves the conclusion pretty much up to interpretation, with the most popular theories being that Brom Bones disguised himself as the horseman and substituted a severed head for a jack-o'-lantern, after he, gets hit with the jack-o'-lantern, Crane flees town because he thought he just met the horseman. But alternatively, some people believe Brom Bones killed Ichabod after knocking him off the horse, but that seems pretty unlikely, as Brom Bones is more of he's known more as a prankster and not really exactly a violent person. The last theory is that Crane was actually swept away by the spirit of the Headless Horseman on that night. But no matter the true fate of Ichabod Crane, this was the story that created the legend of Sleepy Hollow.
On mounting a rising ground, which brought the figure of his fellow traveller in relief against the sky, gigantic in height and muffled in a cloak, Ichabod was horror-struck on perceiving that he was headless.
As stated earlier, Irving likely used European folklore as inspiration for his Headless Horseman. His father being a Scotsman and his time spent in Dutch communities means he'd probably heard tales of Headless Horsemen, as both the Scottish and the Dutch have their own versions of the story, or of the entity rather. In the Dutch rendition of the Horsemen, the entities were more like revenants who'd been cursed to wander the land until they atoned for the sins during their life. Unlike the Horsemen in Irving's story, the Dutch specter didn't attempt to decapitate people to claim their heads, but instead, if they intended to kill you, all they'd have to do is touch you, and it would cause you to basically wither and die on the spot. However, these horsemen seemed aware of their curse, basically, and would attempt to do good deeds for people to free their spirits. But if they so wished, they still had the possibility to kill you. In Scottish folklore, similar to Irving's version, the horseman was said to have been decapitated during a battle. The man was set to become a powerful chieftain after the battle, but was denied his position by his death. And in rage, he began haunting the land of the battle. However, in this story, in a bit of an odd twist, the horseman's steed, or his horse, was also said to be headless, and if you were to even see the specter, it was basically a bad omen that meant death was coming for your family, whether that be you or just someone in your family. Of all possible inspirations, the Irish horseman seems to be the least likely to have been used by Irving for his story. Their horseman is an entity called the Dullahan, which I believe is how I pronounce it. Like, I think that's how it's pronounced. I could be wrong, and I'll probably say it in a different way before this is over. But the Dullahan is referred to as a type of hobgoblin or wicked fairy, but also the Dullahan is just a broad term for a spirit lacking a head. However, the most common appearance of this spirit is that of a headless horseman or a headless coach driver. The Dullahan can either be male or female and wields a whip crafted from a human spine, which is just... that is so metal, I can't even describe it. Additionally, while the horseman lacks a head, they typically carry it with them on their saddle or simply hold it under their arm, which, and that is kind of similar to Irving's tale, but everything else is kind of off. And in the legend, even though their head is severed, the Dullahan head is still alive, and it's said to have a wicked grin that exposes razor-sharp teeth, and it has big bulging eyes that are constantly moving and basically surveying their surroundings, because the Dullahan can use its own severed head to still see. And unlike the other horsemen, the Dullahan claims its victims by simply speaking their name, and it is said that if you ever saw the Dullahan come to a full stop, someone was about to die. The idea of a headless horseman also exists in the world of the legendary King Arthur, specifically in the story of Sir Gawain. I believe I'm pronouncing that one correctly too. A lot of weird names in this one. But in the story of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, a large knight who appears to be entirely green in coloration, riding a horse that also appears to be green in coloration, appears before King Arthur and his family and requests that they play a game. This quote-unquote game requires someone to strike the Green Knight with his own axe, and in a year, the Green Knight will return the same blow to whoever accepts. Sir Gawain accepts the challenge and with one clean cut, decapitates the Green Knight. However, to the surprise of everyone, the knight's body doesn't fall, and after a few moments he rises, retrieves his severed head, mounts his horse, and exits the castle. After nearly a year, Sir Gawain sets out to find the Green Chapel where the knight promised to meet him to fulfill their bargain. On his journey, Gawain encounters a large castle and meets the lord and lady of the castle, who warmly welcomes him as their guest. Gawain shares the story of his encounter with the Green Knight and asks about the location of the Green Chapel. The lord of the castle reveals that the chapel is less than 2 miles from the castle and offers Gawain residence in the castle until the meeting, to which Gawain agrees. The following day, the lord proposes a bargain to Gawain. The lord will hunt daily, and Gawain must give him whatever he gains, while the lord must give Gawain what he catches during his hunt. Gawain agrees to this offer, but that night, the lord's lady makes advances towards Gawain. On 2 separate days, she makes advances on Gawain, but only receives a kiss from Gawain on both days. On the 3rd day, she offers him a charmed sash for protection, and they exchange 3 kisses. Gawain promises to keep the sash gift secret, and later the lord returns with a fox and exchanges it for the 3 kisses, and Gawain makes no mention of the green sash. The next day, Gawain wears the sash and meets the Green Knight at the Green Chapel. Gawain presents his bared neck for the blow of the axe, and at the first swing, Gawain flinches slightly, and after that, the Green Knight mocks him for flinching. This time, without flinching, Gawain braces for the second blow, and the Green Knight reveals that he was testing his nerve with the swing. This annoys Gawain, to which Gawain urges the knight to strike, and he does, but all he does is cause a slight wound on the back of Gawain's neck. Thinking the Green Knight's messing with him, Gawain takes up his weapons, but the Green Knight then reveals himself as the castle's lord from earlier, which had been transformed to look different by magic. He tells Gawain that the entire adventure was orchestrated by the sorceress Morgan Le Fay, who is King Arthur's stepsister, to test the fortitude of his knights. Gawain is ashamed for concealing the sash's gifts, but the Green Knight praises him as the most honorable knight. Gawain then returns to Camelot with the sash as a token of his promise's failure. The Knights of the Round Table absolve him and decide to wear green sashes in memory of Gawain's adventures and as a reminder to be honest. Now, obviously in this story, unlike most others, the Headless Horseman isn't portrayed as a symbol of evil and death. However, the idea of the Headless Green Knight could have and likely influenced or inspired elements of folklore, which, then in turn may have contributed to the creation of Irving's legendary Headless Horseman as we know it today.
Certain it is, the place continues under the sway of some witching power that holds a spell over the minds of the good people, causing them to walk in a continual reverie. They are given to all kinds of marvelous beliefs, are subject to trances and visions, and frequently see strange sights and hear music and voices in the air.
Now, for reference, I am 23 years old as of just a couple months ago, and my first introduction to the Headless Horseman was through the Disney special, The Adventures of Ichabod Crane and Mr. Toad. I remember watching it in some class as part of like a Halloween party at school. And truth be told, I didn't have much interest in the story of Sleepy Hollow or even the Headless Horseman until just these last few years. Now, I think part of that newfound interest is the Headless Horseman and his permanent connection to Halloween at this point, and the fact that this story is one of America's earliest ghost stories and probably one of the most influential ghost stories in American history. Some of you might be like me and know the story just from that Disney special from 1949, I think. But the idea of the Headless Horseman has shown up in other media throughout the years. Obviously, if you want to have the original story, I highly recommend you read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. I actually, for this video, is the first time I've read the short story, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and it was much better than I expected it. I thought it was longer, but it's kind of the perfect length for what it is. And if you're like me and are interested in American history and also ghost stories, it's a pretty good read. I would highly recommend it. However, the Horseman has also shown up in comic books, video games, television shows, and other movies, most notably being probably the Tim Burton 1999 film, Sleepy Hollow, which I was going to watch in preparation for this video, but ran out of time. I'm recording this on Halloween, by the way. I'm trying to get this video out really quickly to you all, so I have something for Halloween. Now, while Irving was probably unaware of how influential his story would become, he created a story and also an entity that have stood the test of time and continue to be popular aspects of not only the holiday of Halloween, but also popular aspects of American folklore. The story has also changed things in the real world as well. As I said earlier, I think in the intro, in 1997, the real town of Tarrytown, New York, which was the town that is adjacent to Sleepy Hollow in the story, in 1999, they changed their name to Sleepy Hollow. And also, the town high school also went so far as to name their team the Horsemen, and their official mascot is the old Headless Hessian himself. And in 2006, the town commissioned a large sculpture of the Headless Horseman chasing Ichabod Crane. Everything we've discussed in this video proves why this story has stood the test of time. The European tales of headless spirits, fairies, and demons were passed on to Irving, which then resulted in his own short story, which was adapted for old and new generations alike. From that, a new entity was born, which was a pure spirit of vengeance, which is known as the Headless Horseman.
In Sleepy Hollow's shroud of night rides a phantom, a fearsome sight. The Headless Horseman, a ghostly steed, with no remorse and no head to heed. Through moonlit woods he gallops fast, a specter from the distant past, seeking ahead his eternal quest, to ease his tormented spectral unrest, his laugh a chilling haunting sound as he rides through hollowed ground. A legend born, forever known, the Headless Horseman to us has shown. In the realm of lore and fear, the horseman's legend lingers near, a tale of mystery dark and grand in Sleepy Hollow's haunted land.
Hey, thank you everyone, for all of you that stuck around to the end of this video. I really, really appreciate it. I know it's been a long time since the last video, but a lot of things have been happening personally that have kind of made it harder for me to do this right now. But I wanted to do this video last year. I wanted to do a Headless Horseman video, Legend of Sleepy Hollow video last year, but just like this year, things happened. I couldn't really get it out in time. I'm hoping, like I said earlier, I'm recording this on Halloween, and it's also when I'm going to try to get this thing up. So I hope you all enjoy it. I really kind of I rushed it, but I didn't want to make it feel rushed. And I'm actually really proud with how this one turned out so far. I enjoyed working on this one, and I do want to talk about a couple things. If you're just here for Headless Horseman and Legend of Sleepy Hollow, that part's done. This is all me just speaking kind of personally, and about some things that are going to be happening on the channel. But before you leave, all I ask is that you please like, comment, subscribe. It really helps me out. I'm planning on doing this some more. If I have time. That's the biggest thing, is if I have time. Because I do enjoy working on this stuff. Like I said, I've been having a blast with working on this, and it's only been a couple weeks that I've worked on it. I was just like, you know what, I want to do this. I don't want to wait another year to do it. So now you have this. But there's a couple things I want to talk about. One is the Ouija board video. Okay, so this is kind of a big one, and it's kind of been bothering me. Obviously, I made the decision to split my Ouija board video into 3 sections, and I still stick with that idea. I think that was the best idea for it, especially with how long things were taking. I was super proud with the first video. The second video, however, I wasn't super happy with, because I tried to just kind of quickly throw something together before I went on vacation. And I think it kind of made the video suffer. And I also think it's just because I'm kind of burnt out on the Ouija board. I have all of it in my brain to like put it on paper to finish the outline for part 3. It's just sitting down and actually working on it's been kind of hard, because I'm just kind of burnt out on it. I'm still going to finish it. I didn't want to even do anything else before I finished it. But like I said, this is one that I really wanted to make, and it's one I've been sitting on for a year. So yeah, part 3 is still coming. I'm just trying to kind of get out of writer's block and kind of like a creative rut, I guess would be the best way to describe it. So that's basically the big thing that's been going on, and why I've been so like dormant on here. But I'm trying to come back. Sorry about having to wear these stupid sunglasses indoors. Wasn't really planning on my sunglasses to break in half. I mean, wasn't planning on my regular glasses to break in half and having to wear these indoors wherever I go. But it works. I made it work, and I wanted to make it work, and I'm hoping you all like this. I'm hoping it turns out good. I'm hopeful that it'll turn out good, because I kind of feel more passionate about this than I have with the last couple Ouija board videos. Well, I shouldn't say that. The first one, like I said, I really liked working on. The second one, it kind of just was like a movie review of The Exorcist, which was it's important to the story, but I felt like there was so much more I could have fit into that video, and I feel like it kind of suffered because of that, but who knows. If you want to go watch those, you can go watch those. I do want to try to finish the 3rd episode, which will be the final episode, no matter what. I don't care how long it ends up being, no matter what happens. Number 3 for the Ouija series will be the last one. That is it. I have to finish this thing. And I hate saying it like that, because I don't want to make it sound like a chore, but that the way it is right now, it kind of is a chore for me. But I'm hoping working on this video, getting it out to you all, kind of puts that confidence back in me to finish the 3rd one. So that's where we're at right now. I already have the outline for the Ouija video. It's like halfway done. I just got to that halfway point, and it's just like my brain just shut off. Like I got to that point, and then it just kind of blanked on me, and I haven't had the like wherewithal to get back into it. But then I sat down and typed out however long this outline is for this video, and I loved working on it. And I've already, like, by the time that you're seeing this, I'll be well, I mean, obviously the video will be done if you're seeing it, but at the time that I'm recording it, there's already bits and pieces of this video I've already edited. It's like the transitions and stuff like that. And it's been really fun to work on, and I'm really hopeful that you all like it. I really hope you all like it. And if you did like it, like I said earlier, please like, comment, subscribe. It's the best way to help me out. There's more stuff coming. I have something planned for the next couple months. I mean, obviously the Ouija board thing, but there's another video I have planned within a couple months that I'm also really excited to work on, which is why I want to get the Ouija board thing done. But like I said, I just hope putting this one out kind of gives me that energy back to finish the Ouija series. Because I really do like the Ouija board. It just ended up becoming way more than I expected it to be for like how new I am to all this. It's just a lot. But I'll get it done. I'll get it done and I'll get it out for you all. And then we'll see where we go from there. It should be a big one after that. And then after that one, whatever that next big one is that I'm already planning, I don't want to give it away. But after I get that one out, there probably won't be a new video until after New Year's, but that's pretty good for me. I mean, if I can get this video out, the Ouija finale, and another video out before the end is done, before the end of the year, the end is done. Before the end of the year, I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good for me. I've just been excited to be back with something that I've been passionate about. This is all I've been talking about for like the last week. I haven't told many people that I've even been working on this. This is going to be a surprise to quite a few people that I made this. But yeah, I'm hopeful that it turned out good. It's a bit of a shorter video. I know it's going to be a shorter video, but you know, short video based on a short story, short history, you know, stuff like that. Any excuse, I guess. But yeah, I'm hoping you all liked it. I really liked working on it. And as always, it's kind of become my catchphrase for this channel, I realized. I hope to see you all again very soon.